Commander Sunwoo Lee watched the blue glow of the antimatter reactor through the reinforced observation window. Her heart beat faster as the energy readings stabilized on her tablet. After 15 years of research, countless failures, and 7 lives lost in containment breaches, they had finally done it. "The reaction is holding," said Dr. Jiho Park, her voice calm despite the tension in the room. "Containment field integrity at 99.8% and stable." Sunwoo allowed herself a small smile. In the sterile white control room of Earth Orbital Laboratory Beta, history was being made. Humanity had just solved its energy crisis forever, but the implications went far beyond Earth. "Run the stress test again," Sunwoo ordered. She brushed a strand of dark hair from her face, tucking it behind her ear. Sleep had been a rare luxury these past weeks, but adrenaline kept her sharp. Jiho nodded and initiated the sequence. The antimatter reaction intensified, the blue glow becoming almost painfully bright. The control room fell silent except for the soft hum of equipment and the occasional beep of monitoring systems. "Containment holding at 99.7%, Joe announced after a full minute. "We've done it, Commander." The room erupted in cheers. Scientists who had spent their careers on this problem embraced each other. Some wept openly. Sunwoo remained composed, but her eyes shone with pride. "Send the confirmation to Earth Command," she instructed her communications officer. "Tell them Project Prometheus is ready for the next phase." Across the galaxy, in the gleaming crystal spires of the Galactic Council headquarters, the news barely registered. Counselor Taehyun of the Neuro Confederation dismissed the reports with a wave of his 6-fingered hand. "These humans are barely spacefaring primitives," he said to his colleagues, his translator converting his musical language into the common galactic tongue. "Their breakthrough is probably just fusion power, which has been standard technology for millennia." The other counselors nodded in agreement. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, having only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. Their technology was considered crude by most established species. "Should we send observers?" asked Counselor Daesum, representing the Lyra Alliance. "Waste of resources," Taehyun replied. "Let them play with their toys. They're no threat to galactic stability." Meanwhile, in the classified shipyards orbiting Jupiter, Chief Engineer Mina Kang supervised the installation of the first antimatter reactor into the prototype vessel HSV Prometheus. The ship's skeletal frame stretched nearly 500 meters, its hull a combination of advanced alloys and composite materials. "Careful with those connections," Mina warned as robotic arms positioned the reactor core in the center of the vessel. "One wrong move and we lose half the shipyard." Her team worked with precision, their movements practiced and efficient. After 3 days of continuous work, the reactor was successfully integrated into the ship's systems. "Begin power-up sequence," Mina ordered, her voice echoing through the ship's empty corridors. Lights flickered on throughout the vessel as energy from the reactor flowed into its systems for the first time. Admiral Junho Kim watched from the observation deck, his weathered face impassive. "How much power are we looking at?" Mina checked her readings and blinked in surprise. "Sir, the output it's exceeding our projections by 327%. A rare smile crossed the Admiral's face. "Show me what this means in practical terms, Engineer Kang." Mina led him to a holographic display showing the ship's capabilities. "With this power source," she explained, pointing to various systems, "we can generate shield strengths and weapon outputs that were previously theoretical. The energy density allows for faster-than-light travel that's 5 times more efficient than our current best drives." "And the military applications?" the Admiral asked quietly. Mina hesitated, then adjusted the display. "Complete energy independence for all systems. Weapons that can penetrate any known shield technology. Defensive capabilities that can withstand sustained attacks from multiple vessels." The Admiral nodded slowly. "When can we test it?" "The ship is ready for its maiden voyage now, sir," Mina replied. "We've been running simulations for months. The crew is trained and standing by." 3 days later, The HSV Prometheus detached from the shipyard and moved slowly away from Jupiter. Its sleek hull gleamed in the distant sunlight, the Earth a small blue dot millions of kilometers away. On the bridge, Captain Hyunki Cho settled into the command chair. "All systems check." "All systems green, Captain," reported his first officer, Young Mi-jong. "Antimatter reactor operating at 40% capacity as recommended." "Take us to Mars orbit," Captain Cho ordered. "Standard propulsion only for now." The Prometheus accelerated smoothly, reaching Mars in less than an hour, a journey that typically took days for conventional vessels. "Prepare for faster-than-light test," the captain announced. "Set course for Neptune." The antimatter reactor hummed as its output increased. The stars on the view screen blurred and shifted as the ship entered FTL travel. 3 minutes later, they emerged near Neptune, a journey that should have taken hours. "Navigation Eye is recalibrating all systems," Youngmi reported, her voice filled with wonder. The ship exceeded expected velocity by 72%. Captain Cho couldn't hide his smile. "Take us to the outer boundary of the solar system. Let's see what this ship can really do." The Prometheus surged forward again, reaching the heliopause in less than 15 minutes. The ship's sensors detected something unusual as they arrived. "Captain, I'm picking up an artificial structure," said the sensor officer. "It appears to be some kind of monitoring station." On the view screen, a small metallic object orbited silently. Its design was clearly non-human. "We're being scanned," Youngmi reported. "The station has activated some kind of beacon." Captain Cho straightened in his chair. "Record everything. We need to report this immediately." Before they could act, a flash of light appeared nearby. A ship emerged from faster-than-light travel, an alien vessel 3 times the size of the Prometheus, its hull covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move. "We're being hailed," said the communications officer. Captain Cho nodded. On screen, the alien that appeared had pale blue skin and large, multifaceted eyes. It spoke, the ship's eye translating. "Human vessel, you have violated restricted space. Your presence has been reported to the Galactic Council. Return to your authorized zone immediately." Captain Cho exchanged glances with his crew before responding. "We were unaware of any restrictions. We are on a test flight within our own solar system." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Your system is under observation. Development of antimatter technology is restricted by Council decree. Power down your vessel for inspection." Back on Earth, Commander Sun Woo Lee received the emergency transmission from the Prometheus. Her blood ran cold as she realized the implications. Humanity's greatest breakthrough had just drawn the attention of powers they weren't ready to face. The future had arrived sooner than anyone expected, and it wasn't friendly. Captain Hyunki Cho sat in the command chair of the HSV Prometheus, watching as the stars streaked by on the main view screen. The antimatter-powered engines hummed with a barely audible vibration, pushing the ship faster than any human vessel had traveled before. This was supposed to be a routine test flight to the edge of the solar system and back, allowing the crew to familiarize themselves with the revolutionary new technology. That plan changed when the signal came in. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress call," said Communications Officer Junho Kim, his fingers moving quickly across his console. "It's not in any Earth language." "Put it through," ordered Captain Cho. The bridge speakers crackled with strange sounds, high-pitched tones, and clicks that made no sense to human ears. "The computer is translating," Junho explained. "It appears to be from a vessel calling itself an LRN civilian transport. They're under attack." The captain leaned forward. "Location: just 2 light minutes from our position," replied Navigator Yuma-san. "We can be there in seconds with our drive." Captain Cho hesitated. His orders were clear: test the ship's systems and return to Earth. Engaging with alien species wasn't part of the mission, but a distress call couldn't be ignored, even if it came from non-humans. "Set course," he decided. "Tactical alert. Shields up." The Prometheus changed direction smoothly. A moment later, it dropped out of FTL travel near a small star system. The scene before them was clear on the view screen. A sleek, silver vessel was attempting to evade a much larger angular warship. Green energy beams lashed out from the larger ship, striking the smaller one repeatedly. "The smaller ship's shields are failing," reported Science Officer Minyoung Wang. "Life signs aboard, approximately 30 individuals. The attacking vessel is powering up weapons for another volley," added Tactical Officer Jinyoung Choi. "Their technology appears advanced. Plasma-based weapon systems. Hail both vessels," Captain Cho ordered. Shunho worked his console. The larger ship is responding, identifying itself as a Jia battle cruiser. The view screen changed to show an alien figure. Its skin was dark gray and leathery, with ridges along what appeared to be its forehead. 4 yellow eyes blinked independently of each other. "Unknown vessel." The alien spoke through the translation system. "This conflict is not your concern. Leave this sector immediately." Captain Cho stood up from his chair. "I am Captain Hyunki Cho of the Earth ship Prometheus. We are responding to a distress call. Why are you attacking a civilian transport?" The alien's eyes narrowed. "These Elorans violated Jia territory. Their punishment is our right. Your interference will be considered an act of war." "Captain," Jono interrupted, "I'm receiving a transmission from the Eloran ship. Their captain claims they were on a medical mission and had permission to cross this sector." Before Captain Cho could respond, a warning flashed across the tactical console. "They're targeting us," shouted Jinyoung. "Shields to maximum," ordered the captain. The J-cruiser fired. Brilliant green energy streaked across space and struck the Prometheus directly. The human vessel shuddered slightly, but otherwise showed no damage. "Shields holding at 98%, reported Defense Officer Hee Jin-yoon calmly. "No damage to any systems." On the view screen, the Ja captain's 4 eyes widened in what appeared to be shock. "Their weapons shouldn't be capable of penetrating our shields," Hee-jin explained. "Based on our readings, they expected to cripple us with that single shot." Captain Cho sat back down, his expression hard. "Open a channel again." When the Jia captain reappeared, Captain Cho spoke firmly. "As you can see, we are not defenseless. We have no quarrel with you, but we will not allow you to destroy a civilian vessel. Power down your weapons." The alien made a harsh sound that the translator didn't catch. "You are making a grave mistake. The Jia Dominion does not tolerate interference." The channel closed abruptly. "They're powering up all weapons systems," reported Jinyoung. "Multiple targeting locks." Captain Cho exchanged glances with his first officer, Commander Minjin Kwan. They had both been briefed on the potential for first contact during their mission, but nothing had prepared them for combat with an advanced alien civilization. "Target their weapon systems only," Captain Cho ordered. "Minimal power." The Prometheus's antimatter-powered weapons charge. Blue-white energy gathered at the emitter points along the ship's hull. "Targeting complete," Jinyoung confirmed. "Fire." Precise beams of energy lanced out from the Prometheus, striking the J-cruiser at exactly the points Jinyoung had targeted. The alien vessel's weapons ports dimmed immediately. "Direct hits," reported Jinyoung. "Their weapon systems are offline." "They're powering up engines," added Hee-jin. "I think they're retreating." Sure enough, the J-cruiser turned away from both the Prometheus and the Eloran transport. A moment later, it disappeared in a flash of light, entering its own version of faster-than-light travel. "Captain, the Eloran vessel is hailing us," said Jumno. The view screen showed a very different alien. This one had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Large, expressive eyes dominated a delicate face. Silvery hair flowed around its head as if suspended in water. "I am Captain Juwan of the Medical Transport Healing Light," the alien said, its voice melodic even through the translation system. "You have our eternal gratitude for your intervention, Earth vessel." Captain Cho nodded respectfully. "We're glad we could help. Do you require medical assistance?" "Our ship has sustained damage, but our crew is unharmed," replied Captain Juan. "If you could escort us to the nearest safe port, we would be grateful." "Of course," agreed Captain Cho. "Wei, Captain," interrupted Minyoung, "I'm detecting multiple ships entering the system. Based on their energy signatures, they appear to be more Jia vessels." Captain Cho turned to Jinyoung. "How many?" "3 cruisers, similar to the one we engage," replied the tactical officer. "They'll be in weapons range in 5 minutes." Captain Juwan's expression showed concern. "Captain Cho, you must leave now. The Jia do not forgive insults to their honor. They will return with reinforcements." "We won't abandon you," Captain Cho insisted. "You misunderstand," said Captain Juwan. "What we witnessed today, your technology, your power, it changes everything. The Galactic Council believed humans were centuries away from antimatter manipulation. Your ship just proved them wrong." She leaned closer to the screen. "We had heard rumors of a new species entering galactic affairs, but we never expected such power. The Galactic Council will certainly hear of this. They must know that humans are ready for full contact." Captain Cho felt the weight of her words. What had begun as a test flight had now irreversibly changed humanity's place in the galaxy. "Captain Juwan, can you transmit coordinates for a safe meeting place?" he asked. "I believe our governments have much to discuss." The Ellerin captain nodded. "Transmitting now. And Captain Cho, prepare your people. The galaxy is a dangerous place, filled with species like the Jia who respect only strength. Today, you showed them that humans possess that strength." As the coordinates came through, Captain Cho ordered a course set. The Prometheus would escort the Ellerin vessel to safety, then return to Earth with news that would forever change human history. Humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy, with a demonstration of power that no one could ignore. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with holographic displays and floating data screens. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations filled the circular hall, their voices rising in heated debate. The emergency session had been called without the typical ceremonial procedures, a clear sign of the Council's alarm. At the center of the chamber, a 3-dimensional image of the HSV Prometheus rotated slowly. Detailed scans showed the antimatter reactor at its heart, captured by Ellerin sensors during the recent incident. Councillor Doyan of the militaristic Kren Coalition rose from his seat. His scaled skin reflected the blue light of the chamber as he slammed his fist on the table. The sound echoed through the suddenly silent room. "These humans have bypassed centuries of technological development," he growled, his translator converting his harsh native language into the galactic standard. "They must be contained before they destabilize the entire power structure of the quadrant." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Kren controlled vast territories and maintained the largest military fleet in the known galaxy. Their opinion carried significant weight. "The data is clear," continued Doyan, gesturing to the holographic display. "They have achieved stable antimatter containment using methods unknown to us. Their weapons disabled a J cruiser with a single shot. If we allow this technology to spread, our strategic advantage will be compromised." From across the chamber, Councillor Suman of the Re Collective stood. Her species was known for their scientific achievements and peaceful approach to galactic politics. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin pulsed with calm regularity. "Perhaps we should establish diplomatic relations instead," she suggested, her voice soft but clear. "Their technology could benefit us all. The energy crisis affecting the outer colonies could be solved. Medical applications alone would save billions of lives." "At what cost?" countered Councillor Tahian of the Neuro Confederation, rising to stand beside Doyan. "Our intelligence suggests that humans are territorial and aggressive. They expanded across their home planet through constant warfare. Now they have weapons that can challenge our most advanced defenses." The chamber erupted again as representatives shouted their positions. Elder Minyuk of the ancient Sora Dominion raised his weathered hands for silence. As the oldest member of the council, his voice carried special authority. In 5,000 years on this council, the elder spoke slowly. I have seen many species rise and fall. Some we welcomed, others we contained. The decision before us today will shake the galaxy for centuries to come. He turned to face the holographic image of the human ship. These humans achieved in decades what took the rest of us millennia. This speaks to either remarkable intuition or dangerous recklessness. Perhaps both. The chamber fell silent as the elder continued. I propose a compromise. We send observers to Earth to assess their intentions, while simultaneously preparing defensive measures should they prove hostile. The vote was taken. The result appeared on the main display: 23 in favor of containment, 14 in favor of diplomatic engagement. The hardliners had prevailed. Later that day, in a secure chamber beneath the council building, a smaller group gathered. Councilors Do-hyun and Tae-hyun stood before a holographic map of Earth's solar system. Our stealth technology is undetectable by their current scanning systems, explained Admiral Ji-hoon of the Kren military. A fleet of 30 vessels can approach Earth without alerting their defenses. What are the mission parameters? Asked Councilor Tae-hyun. Primary objective is to secure their antimatter technology, replied the Admiral. Secondary objective is to disable their space-based infrastructure to prevent further development. And the humans? Asked a representative from the Jade Dominion, still smarting from their recent defeat. Admiral Ji-hoon's expression remained neutral. Resistance is expected. Casualties will be minimized where possible, but the mission takes priority. Councilor Do-hyun nodded. The Council has spoken. We cannot allow this technology to remain solely in human hands. Launch immediately. The stealth fleet departed within hours, using advanced drive systems to bend space around their vessels. According to all calculations, they would reach Earth's orbit completely undetected, giving them the element of surprise. They were wrong. On Earth, in the underground command center of the Global Defense Network, General Hyun-woo-ba stood before a massive display showing the approaching alien fleet. Thanks to the new antimatter-powered detection grid, the supposedly stealth vessels appeared as clear signatures against the backdrop of space. Time to arrival, he asked calmly. 4 days, 17 hours at current speed, replied Colonel Ji Soo-yoon. They appear to be maintaining stealth protocols. They don't realize we can see them. General Bai studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was substantial. 30 warships arranged in a standard approach formation. Their energy signatures matched those of Kren vessels, with some Ja and Nero designs mixed in. Status of our orbital platforms, he asked. All 20 antimatter defense platforms are online and operational, reported Major Dae-hyun Lim. The Prometheus has returned to Earth orbit, and 3 additional antimatter-powered vessels are ready for deployment. General Bai allowed himself a small smile. They think we're blind, he said grimly as he reviewed the incoming threat. Let's prepare a proper welcome. He turned to the communications officer. Connect me with the United Earth Council. Priority Alpha. Within minutes, the faces of the 12 council members appeared on the display. President Ji-young Park spoke first. General Bai, we've received your alert. Are you certain of this data? Completely certain, Madam President. The antimatter detection grid has mapped their approach vector precisely. This is not a drill or a false positive. The President's expression hardened. Your recommendation? We have 2 options, General Bott explained. We can attempt diplomatic contact, informing them that we've detected their approach, or we can allow them to believe their stealth was successful, then reveal our capabilities when they enter our defensive perimeter. The tactical advantage would favor the second option, noted Defense Minister Hyung-soo Kim. But the diplomatic consequences would be severe, countered Foreign Affairs Minister Yoon-ji Choi. A preemptive strike could confirm their worst fears about humanity. President Park considered both arguments before speaking. We will attempt communication first. Show them we detected their approach and request their intentions. If they respond with hostility, you are authorized to use all necessary force to defend Earth. General Bai nodded. And if they ignore our communication and continue their approach, then we demonstrate why antimatter technology is not to be taken lightly, the president replied firmly. As the meeting concluded, General Bai turned back to the tactical display. The alien fleet continued its approach, unaware that their element of surprise had been lost days ago. In his quarters that night, General Bai studied the historical records of humanity's first attempts at space travel. From primitive rockets to fusion-powered ships, each step had taken decades of development. Now, antimatter had changed everything in less than 5 years. They're afraid of us, he murmured to himself, not because of what we've done, but because of what we might become. The next day, Earth would send its message to the approaching fleet. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not as blind or helpless as they had assumed. The alarm sounded at Research Facility Alpha at precisely 3:27 a.m. Security Chief Dongo Park was awake instantly, reaching for his tablet as red warning lights pulsed throughout his quarters. "Status report," he demanded, pulling on his uniform as the screen came to life. "Perimeter breach in sectors 5 through 8, reported his second-in-command. Multiple intruders. They appear to be using some kind of phase technology to pass through the outer walls." Dongo grabbed his antimatter-powered sidearm from its charging dock. The weapon hummed to life, its power indicator glowing blue. "Activate Defense Protocol Theta. All security personnel to deploy antimatter armor." Throughout the facility, men and women rushed to secure lockers and donned sleek metallic suits. The antimatter power cells activated with a soft hum, enhancing the wearer's strength, speed, and durability. What had been experimental technology just months ago was now their first line of defense. The alien strike team moved with practiced precision through the darkened hallways. Their stealth technology bent light around their bodies, rendering them nearly invisible to normal sight. According to their intelligence, this facility contained key research data on human antimatter containment. The lead operative stopped suddenly, raising a clawed hand. Something was wrong. The humans should have been in disarray, confused by the breach. Instead, there was organized movement ahead. "They know we're here," the operative hissed to his team. "Weapons free." The aliens raised their energy weapons just as Dongho and his security team rounded the corner. The aliens fired first, energy bolts streaking toward the humans. The shots impacted the antimatter-powered armor and dissipated harmlessly. Dongho raised his weapon and fired a concentrated burst of energy. The alien leader dropped instantly, incapacitated but alive. "Non-lethal takedowns only," Dongho ordered as his team pressed forward. "We need prisoners for questioning." Similar scenes played out across a dozen research facilities worldwide. The alien infiltrators had expected to face conventional human security. Instead, they encountered troops equipped with technology that matched or exceeded their own. In orbit, Commander Sun Wuli stood on the bridge of the HSV Prometheus, watching the tactical display as 12 human warships moved into defensive formation around Earth. All were powered by antimatter reactors, despite having been launched in the past 3 months. "Status of ground incursions?" Sun Wu asked. Communications Officer Juno Kim checked his console. "All infiltration attempts have been contained. 63 alien operatives captured, minimal casualties on both sides." Sun Wu nodded, satisfied. The plan had worked perfectly. By allowing the alien strike teams to believe their approach was undetected, Earth's defenses had captured valuable intelligence assets while demonstrating their technological capabilities. "Commander," said Sensor Officer Yona Han urgently. "Multiple space-time distortions detected. Large fleet incoming." The view screen shifted to show empty space beyond the moon's orbit. Suddenly, space itself seemed to ripple and tear. Ships began to emerge. Dozens, then hundreds of alien vessels of various designs. "They'd brought 200 vessels," reported Tactical Officer Jinyang Choi, his voice steady despite the overwhelming numbers. "Power readings suggest conventional energy sources, fusion and quantum reactors, nothing antimatter-based." Sun Wu straightened her uniform jacket. Earth had anticipated this escalation, but the sheer number of ships was intimidating. The 12 human vessels, though technologically superior, were vastly outnumbered. All ships, maintain defensive formation, she ordered. Charge defensive arrays but hold fire unless fired upon. On the alien flagship, Fleet Commander Minji of the Kren Coalition observed the small cluster of human ships with disdain. The reports of their technology must have been exaggerated. Just 12 vessels against her armada. This would be over quickly. No response to our hails, reported her communications officer. They are either arrogant or foolish, Minji said. Prepare to fire warning shots across their formation. Target the space ahead of their lead vessel. Before the order could be carried out, all screens on the Kren bridge lit up with an incoming transmission. They are hailing us now, said the surprised officer. Display, commanded Minji. The screen showed a human female in a dark uniform with silver insignia. Her expression was calm but determined. This is Commander Sunwoo of the United Earth Fleet, the human said, her words translated perfectly into Kren language. Your covert operations have failed, and your fleet is outmatched despite your numerical advantage. We seek peaceful relations, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Minji laughed, a harsh sound that made her subordinates flinch. Bold words from a species hiding behind 12 ships. We have 200 vessels with our most advanced weapon systems. Stand down and surrender your antimatter technology, or we will take it by force. Commander Sunwoo's expression didn't change. Perhaps a demonstration would be helpful. She turned to speak to someone off-screen. Activate defensive array. 10% power. Expanding radius. Non-destructive mode. Minji was about to dismiss the human's bluff when her tactical officer called out in alarm. Energy spike from the human flagship. It's massive. From the Prometheus, a sphere of shimmering blue energy expanded outward at incredible speed. As it passed through the front line of the alien fleet, their ship's external lights flickered and died. Weapons systems went offline. Communication arrays fell silent. The sphere continued to expand, engulfing ship after ship, not destroying them, simply neutralizing them. Within minutes, 50 alien vessels drifted powerless, their crews unharmed, but their technology rendered temporarily useless. Impossible, whispered Minji as the reports flooded in. How can they generate this much power? The human commander reappeared on screen. As you can see, we could disable your entire fleet if necessary. The affected ships will regain power in approximately 1 hour, once the neutralizing field dissipates. No permanent damage has been done. Minji's claws dug into the armrests of her command chair. This technology was beyond anything the Council possessed. One human ship had just neutralized a quarter of her fleet without firing a single destructive shot. This is impossible technology, she said, unable to hide her shock. No, replied Sunwoo, her voice firm but not unkind. This is diplomacy, backed by human ingenuity. Shall we discuss terms? Minji looked around at her bridge crew. The tactical display showed the remaining human ships, their energy signatures pulsing with barely contained power. If one ship could disable 50, what could all 12 do together? You could have destroyed us, Minji said, realization dawning. Why didn't you? Because that's not who we are, Sunwoo answered. Humanity wants to join the galactic community as equals, not conquerors. We developed antimatter technology to solve our energy crisis, not to wage war. She paused, then continued. But make no mistake, we will defend our world. The choice between peace and conflict is yours. In the silence that followed, both commanders understood that the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted irrevocably. Humanity had made its stand. I am authorized to open preliminary diplomatic channels, Minji finally said, setting aside her pride. The Galactic Council will need to be consulted for formal negotiations. Sunwoo nodded. We look forward to it. Perhaps you would like to come aboard the Prometheus to begin discussions. I believe both our peoples have much to learn from each other. As arrangements were made for the first official meeting between human leadership and the Galactic Council representatives, Sunwoo looked out at the stars visible through the Prometheus's view screen. Humanity had passed its first major test as a spacefaring civilization, not through warfare, but through strength tempered with restraint. The galaxy would never be the same. The Earth delegation arrived at the newly constructed Harmony Station in 12 antimatter-powered ships. Their hulls gleamed under the light of an unfamiliar sun. This neutral location, orbiting a lifeless planet in unclaimed space, had been chosen specifically for the historic summit. Commander Sunwoo Lee stood at the large viewport on the observation deck of the HSV Harmony, Earth's new flagship. At 1 kilometer in length, it dwarfed the original Prometheus. Its sleek design combined beauty with function, a symbol of humanity's new place in the galaxy. Incoming transmission from the Ellerin delegation, announced Communications Officer Junho Kim. They will arrive within the hour. Sunwoo nodded. Thank you, Junho. Any word from the Kren? Their ambassador confirms attendance but states their delegation will be minimal. No surprise there, Sunwoo thought. The once dominant Kren coalition had lost significant influence in the past 6 months. Their military advantage, built over centuries, had evaporated almost overnight when Earth began sharing antimatter technology with its allies. Ambassador Jae-hyun Park entered the observation deck, his formal diplomatic uniform crisp and perfect. He carried a data pad in his hand, his expression serious. Another request for protection, he said, passing the pad to Sunwoo. The Tahoe system seeks human defense against Kren expansion. Sunwoo studied the request. The Tahoe were a peaceful species who had suffered under Kren dominance for generations. Their star system contained valuable mineral resources that the Kren had exploited. This is the 5th such request this month, Sunwoo noted. Jae-hyun nodded. The balance of power is shifting rapidly. Many worlds that were once afraid to oppose the Kren now see Earth as a potential protector. We need to be careful, Sunwoo cautioned. We don't want to replace one empire with another. That's why today's summit is so important, Jae-hyun replied. The Galactic Concordat will establish rules that apply to all species, including humans. Sunwoo returned her gaze to the viewport. Ships were beginning to arrive, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in brilliant flashes of light. Each represented a different civilization, with unique cultures and histories thousands of years old. 6 months ago, most humans hadn't known these species existed. Now, Earth was hosting them as equals. Dr. Geo Park joined them at the viewport. Once the lead scientist on Earth's antimatter project, she now served as Sunwoo's executive officer on the Harmony. The Nero delegation has requested a tour of our antimatter research lab, Geo said. They're particularly interested in the medical applications we've developed. Sunwoo smiled. Arrange it. The more we share, the stronger our alliances become. Within the agreed limits, Jae-hyun reminded them. Weapon applications remain classified. Earth's policy had been clear from the beginning. Antimatter technology for energy, transportation, and medicine would be shared openly with peaceful allies. Military applications remained restricted. It was a delicate balance, offering enough to build strong relationships while maintaining strategic advantage. Look, Geo said suddenly, pointing out the viewport. The Re Collective has arrived. A group of ships with distinctive spiral patterns along their hulls emerged from FTL travel. The Re had been among the first to support Earth and the Galactic Council, arguing for diplomatic engagement rather than containment. Their ships now ran on antimatter reactors designed by human engineers. They'd brought their entire diplomatic corps, noted Jae-hyun, checking his datapad, and representatives from 15 of their colony worlds. This summit is important to them, said Sunwoo. They suffered under the old power structure too. Throughout the day, more ships arrived. Species that had been enemies for generations were docking at the same station, united by the promise of a new galactic order. Humans moved among them as facilitators and mediators, newcomers who had unexpectedly changed everything. In her private quarters, Sunwoo reviewed her notes for the opening address. As commander of the first human ship to encounter alien species and leader of Earth's successful defense, she had been chosen to speak for humanity. Her door chimed. "Enter," she called. General Hyunwoo Ba stepped in, his uniform decorated with the new insignia of Earth's United Defense Force. "Commander Lee," he greeted her formally. "The security teams report all delegations have arrived safely. No incidents to report." "Thank you, General. I'm still surprised the JAD decided to attend." The general's expression hardened slightly. They had little choice. With their former allies adopting antimatter technology, they risked total isolation. Sunwoo set down her notes. "Do you ever wonder if we moved too quickly? 6 months ago, we were testing our first antimatter-powered ship. Now we're reshaping the power structure of the entire galaxy." "We didn't have a choice," the general replied. "Once the Galactic Council discovered our technology, containment or conflict were our only alternatives. You found a third way. We'll see if it lasts," Sunwoo said quietly. 3 hours later, the Great Assembly Hall of Harmony Station was filled with representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations. Some appeared nearly human, while others were so alien that special environmental suits or translator drones were required for communication. Ambassador Jae-hyun stepped onto the central platform. "Distinguished delegates," he began, his voice carried perfectly throughout the hall by the station's acoustic design. "I present Commander Sunwoo Lee of Earth, who will open these historic proceedings." Sunwoo took her place at the center of the platform. Thousands of alien eyes focused on her, the human who had changed the galaxy. "6 months ago," she began, "many of you had never heard of Earth, those who had dismissed us as primitive newcomers to space. Today, we gather as equals to create something unprecedented, a true galactic community based on mutual respect and cooperation." She gestured to the diverse assembly before her. "Humanity does not seek dominance. We seek partnership. The technology that brought us together, antimatter power, is not a human achievement alone. It belongs to all sentient beings who wish to use it for peaceful progress." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. "The Galactic Concordat we propose today is simple in principle. All species have the right to self-determination. Disputes will be resolved through diplomatic channels. Resources will be shared equitably. Technology will be developed for the benefit of all." She paused, making eye contact with the Kren delegation. "Some fear that one form of domination is simply being replaced by another. Let me be clear, Earth has no imperial ambitions. The defensive pacts we have formed are temporary measures to ensure stability during this transition." The assembly hall was silent now, every delegate intent on her words. "Today marks the beginning of a new era. Not a human era, not a Kren era, not the dominance of any single species, but a true galactic community where the strong protect the vulnerable and the brilliance of each culture enriches all others." As the delegates rose in approval, Jiho joined Sunwoo at the edge of the platform. "Did you ever imagine this when we first stabilized that antimatter reaction?" she asked quietly. Sunwoo looked out at the assembly. Former enemies sitting together, marginalized species taking their places as equals, the future of 1,000 worlds being rewritten in this moment. "Honestly, no," Sunwoo replied with a smile. "But I'm glad the galaxy never saw it coming." Later that night, as the formal negotiations began, Sunwoo returned to the observation deck. The space around Harmony Station was filled with ships of all shapes and sizes, their lights creating a mosaic against the darkness of space. Humanity had reached for the stars and found both danger and opportunity. Through a combination of innovation, courage, and wisdom, they had earned their place among the ancient civilizations of the galaxy. Not through conquest, but through the power of antimatter and the even greater power of hope. The end.